If we could have your attention for benching. Makom Mesubim Khan, our number sign of break. Eloheinu Shalchala Mishallah. Baruch Eloheinu Shalchala Mishallah Uftuva Kayinu. Baruch Rishimo. Baruch Tato Adonai. Eloheinu Melech HaOlam. Hazan Mesolam Klo B'Tuva. B'Hefen B'Chesed U'Rachamim. Nosen lechem lechol basar ki li'olam kasto uktuva hagadol tamid lo chasalanu ve'al yachsalanu mahazon li'olam bo'ed baruch shemo hagadol ki yoel zanur fanes lakol umetiv lakol umekin mazon lechol briyosah asher bara Baruch Atah Adonai, Hazan Es HaKol. Gagel HaKadar, we know it's trouble continue.
Avi.
V'yala Kol Adonai Eloheinu Anachmon. B'nei Yerushalayim HaKodesh Rabbi Yameinu Baruch Atah Adonai B'nei Baruch Mav Yerushalayim Amen. Baruch Atah Adonai.
Just a moment, that is the officers and trustees who have just completed their terms in office. Would you please stand? I know we have a lot more to hear tonight. Rabbis, fellow congregants, friends, we gather this evening to look back and to give thanks for the past year and to look forward with hope and confidence to the coming year. It is my pleasant task at this time to lead us in that effort. First, we offer our sincere thanks, our sincere thank you, and a hearty yashikoach to the officers and trustees who have served our shul and its members and families so well during their terms of office. And where you're still standing and where you're all here, I would say to you, may each of you have the will and the strength to continue those efforts on behalf of our shul community, whether you continue in formal office or as loyal and devoted congregation members. At this time, I declare you discharged from your obligations and duties as officers, and we say especially to all of you, thank you for your services. Alan Penn, would you join me, please? We come now to a significant portion of tonight's program, the presentation of the Presidential Award. All too often, the burden of the presidency of a synagogue is a difficult, a demanding, a time-consuming job. And certainly, our shul is no exception. For us, however, that task has been performed selflessly, conscientiously, and effectively. It is therefore with the utmost delight that I present our presidential award to one who merits its full intention and merits it so well, Alan Penn. Congratulations and thanks to you all. From the award, the plaque reads, presented to Alan Penn, past president, 1988-89, founder, in recognition of his commitment and tireless effort for our shul, Alan J. Yuta Rabbi, Abraham Bornstein, President, Congregation Israel of Springfield. Again, our thanks and congratulations.
Thank you, Zach. I want to thank all of you, the rabbis included, for our growth and accomplishments the past 2 years. Oh yes, you had a president, someone who had to make a few decisions, who signed checks, who answered phone calls, who ran the board meetings, and occasionally even did a few other chores around the shul. But the real award and covet tonight belongs to you, the officers, Board of Trustees, and those members who unstintingly gave of your time and efforts in promoting our activities and programs. To those new members, or those members who for one reason or another were not able to work with us the last 2 years, you now have a new opportunity. We have a new administration led by a well-organized, knowledgeable, and dedicated individual. But no matter how energetic and devoted he, his officers, and board may be, they require all the support and help the general membership can offer. I urge you to participate with your ideas and expertise, to volunteer, and to accept when called upon. And at the next installation and awards night, you too will feel the award belongs to everyone. Thank you again.
Phil Ogden.
I thought it was only fitting, having grown up with his son Avery and all the mess that I've caused in his house. Having lived here for almost 17 years, I've seen the shul grow. Sal has been here since almost the inception of the shul and has always helped us in any certain way. Whether it's been setting up the mechitza in the shul, setting up the sukkah, or just any volunteering for any other project that we've had. Always taking part, setting up our Shabbos lollipop program, and all those other endeavors. We present this back to Sal. Presented to Sal Einhorn, Community Service Award, Congregation of Israel, Alan J. Yuta Rabbi, Abraham Bornstein, President, January 4th, 1990.
At the risk of giving away my age, I would like to quote a comedian from yesteryear by the name of Red Buttons. He used to have a monologue, strange things are happening. I never realized that by putting the shul into hot water, I'll put myself into hot water. Also, to quote on the other hand, the Chofetz Chaim, blessed be his memory, as far as keeping yourself down, I was going to do that, but I learned a lesson from him in a way. They tell a story that once a very respectable rich man came to visit him in in Radin, where the yeshiva was in Europe. And going to the yeshiva, he met an old man walking on the street. And he said to him, you know, I'm a stranger from the United States. I would like to meet, as they say, there's a very big tzaddik over here, and I would like to meet him. And the old man says, well, he's not such a big tzaddik. And the man says, keeps saying things, you know, good things that he heard about him. And the old man keeps poo-pooing. Finally, he came to a point where he got so enraged, the man, that he slapped him. So when he came to the yeshiva, and he wanted to be presented, he found out the old man was the Chofetz Chaim. So the Chofetz Chaim quoted that time, he said, everything has got up to a point. You know, it's not good to be to make yourself agonish neither. So I won't do it. Especially, first of all, the award is not only mine, because wherever they're special for the Mechitzah, I want to thank, first of all, Mike Bachner, he was the one who gave it to us, and Phil and David Hartman, who helped us to schlep it and all that. It wasn't by myself that I did all those things. And, you know, especially my dear wife, who was always on my side, and she's a real force. And the fact alone that my children, especially my son, came from Los Angeles, and my children are here, this alone was worth it. Then, I do want to thank the congregation, everybody, and hopefully we'll be able to go to bigger and greater things. Thank you very much.
Star, you've been a true inspiration to all of us. The original millionaire. Rabbi Turner?
I don't want to have you standing, sort of make me feel that I have to hurry in what I have to say. Frankly, when I speak about Ralph Whitson, I think that I'm entitled really more than 6.5 minutes. Schneider mentioned for the entire program. For someone whom I have known for 32 years, who has come through a number of situations, we moved from Shepherd Avenue to Bergen Street to Shunpike Road, first to Mountain and Shunpike, and then to House and Shunpike Road, with all the stops in between and back again. I'm entitled to say just a little more. And I have to start, even though I'm not listed for Dvar Torah, I notice the Dvar Torah, there's plenty of Torah, so that I will not take away from Rabbi Yuda's prerogative. This Sedra is Sedra Vayigash. It starts with a very curious passage. Judah comes before the viceroy of Egypt, who is really the all-powerful person, and he gives him a sob story. Now just imagine, who all Judah know, this was a man who spoke very harshly to him and his brothers the first time they visited, and set conditions that were almost impossible conditions. This was a man who obviously Judah knew cheated them and purposely found something to conspire to make trouble for them. Why Judah didn't have the slightest idea. This was a man who could just say a word and he would be put to death. And what does Judah do? Judah tells him a sob story. Tells him a sob story. You know, we told you that we have an old father at home, and he had 2 sons that he loved greatly. One of them is gone, and the other one, the only one left, if we let him go from the father and something happened to him, that our father's life would go down in tragedy to the grave. And he gives him a sob story. Now let's put this in a modern circumstance. Before Hitler Yamach Shemo, if somebody would come and give him a sob story, the more tragedy, he would say, the more Hitler would quell, the more he would enjoy. The Stalin Yamach Shemo, all the other, those leaders, and this fellow, Noriega, they would laugh. The more sob, the more pathos that the person would express, the more he would enjoy it. So what was Judah doing? But Judah was telling this man something. Judah was telling him, and these are the words,
Listen, you young man, whoever you are, I don't know what kind of game you're playing here. Obviously, you have some kind of conspiracy in mind. Obviously, you have something that you want to accomplish. It had better be important to you. It had better be a matter of life and death to you. It had better be everything that counts for you in your life. You know why? Because that's what it is for me. This is the life of my father. This is the life of the brother for whom I swore surety. I swore that I would be surety, and according to what the rabbi said, that I would sacrifice my lot in this world and the world to come, unless I brought him back safely. That's what this means to me, which means that my life is meaningless, and this is a fight to the death. It better be that important to you. If this is just some game you play, I advise you, it'll cost you a lot. I don't know who's going to win. You may win, but it'll cost you much more than you maybe wanted to spend. That is what involved here. Judah was not telling him a sob story. Judah was explaining, this is what this means to me. And I say this when I have to present an award to Ralph Witskin. Obviously, this is not a matter of war, although Ralph was a soldier in war, and I'm not going to go into that story. But this is what the shul means to Ralph Witskin. A matter, this is my life. He and Goldie, generations, the second generation that I knew in the shul, Goldie's father, Olav Sholem, and mother, I didn't know her mother, unfortunately, but I did know her father. And Ralph was reared in the household. I met when I came to the shul, and the shul was their life, and the shul is the life of Ralph and of Goldie. This is what the shul means to him. It's not a question of war, but it's almost everything else. I'm not going to enumerate all the things that Ralph has done in the shul. But this, I remember one statement I'm going to steal from him, and Ralph, the reason that I'm stealing it from you is because I know whom you stole it from. You stole it from Abe Zimmerman. And I heard him say it frequently. He says, some people are interested in the shul because of the rabbi. Some people are interested in the shul because of the chazan. Some people are interested in the shul because of the shamas. People have various interests in the shul. I'm not interested in any of these. I'm interested in the shul. I'm a shul person. And that's why when the question came for the future of the shul, even though Ralph was already living in Springfield, he had to deliberate first whether the future of the shul would be served if they moved to Springfield. Thank God he made a decision that it would be, and he was one of the ones that made certain that would thrive and prosper. Because that's what the shul meant to him. And somebody asked me once, Ralph said that, there was a question of certain, when I was very strongly for moving to Springfield, and Ralph said it, I think the first time, just the first time it was mentioned. And they said to me, look, Ralph is not interested in you, he's interested in the shul. So I told this person, if all of our members, that was their main interest, their interest in the shul, then those are my friends. Those are the people that I know that I can count on. Because I was so convinced that the future of the shul wasn't Springfield, thank God, my conviction was vindicated, and it was with Ralph's help and the others that we came to shul. And that's all I'm going to tell you. I'm not going to enumerate all the things Ralph done. I could give you an entire list, but that really would trespass upon your time. I think, and not just that it would trespass upon your time, it would be redundancy. Everybody knows what Ralph has done here. But just with this particular point of what the shul means to Ralph, I think that I am the one that can really express it. Because I've lived with this man and with his wife Goldie for 32 years, and I've seen him express this matter of life and death, that this shul in Springfield should thrive and should grow and continue to grow. And Ralph Knowsley to come forward, please. This says here, and just in this brief plaque, it sums up some things. I can only really say a few. Presented to Ralph Witskin, founder, honorary vice president, in recognition of his years of devotion to our shul Congregation Israel of Springfield. And if I had been consulted about this, I would have put in Adas Yisrael Mishnayos, but look, this sums it up, because Congregation Israel of Springfield is that, now what used to be Congregation Adas Yisrael Mishnayos. Signed, Alan J. Yudah Rabbi, Israeli Turner Rabbi Emeritus, and presented January 4th, 1990, 7th Tavis. The first error that I found, it's the 8th Tavis now. It's nighttime. All right. But anyway, Ralph, thanks. You and Goldie together will look at it for another 44 years and 3 weeks. The session would come out to over a little bit 120, not for Ralph, not for people to be younger. And have it so long year. Thank you.
I'm not going to take up too much more of your time. I want to thank everyone for this honor. And I want to say that everybody in his life wants to accomplish something, whether it's a college degree, whether it's money, whether it's prestige, whatever it is. But thank God, I started a shul with a group of men who had tenacious dedication to see it to fruition. And God gave me the years, as I always said, I hope to live to see when the shul comes to its final building and completion. I have done that, and I thank God. And also I want to thank my wife for her tenacious dedication in keeping me from dropping out, which at times were very, very hard. The obstacles were many. We overcame them, and again, I want to thank you all for this.
Cemetery chairman. He has held that job ever since we merged with his congregation in Tessie Shore. Of course, I moved to one, and probably many years before. And the last 19 years, ever since we've been here in Springfield, he took no salary for the very arduous job that he has, a job in which he exercised very carefully. And I'd like to say this now, not to mention a name. Somebody mentioned here that he was approached once by a group of people for a big mitzvah of supplying the graves in the cemetery for the burying of Shameless, which is a tremendous mitzvah, and he refused them. I want to tell that person, and I'll tell him privately too, that he didn't do it because of any animosity. He did very simply because he didn't, unfortunately, he is not as much acquainted with Jewish knowledge as he should be. He knows how to fulfill that task. And he didn't realize the great mitzvah, and he thought for the benefit of the shul, his responsibility would not allow him to do it, not for any personal reasons. Abe is a sick man, as they say, and we hope that this plaque will bring him a refuah shlema. Let me read it to you, and I will have the honor and privilege of visiting him at home, as I should speak for Poland. In addition, I will give him this plaque, presented to Abe Rothspies, sincere appreciation, Cemetery Committee, Miss Bell, the chairman, Congregation Israel of Springfield.
Some shuls are recognized because they have a year-round chazan and choir. Some for their renowned rabbinic leadership. And some are hardly recognized as shuls. While all these attributes are important, and we have some of them, we are unique and recognized as such in this geographical area because of our gastronomy. I knew that would be a problem. Anyhow, our shul specializes in the art and science of good eating. We were fortunate to have two men in our congregation experienced and involved in the food business who knew where and how to purchase and prepare food, who had connections, but most of all, who volunteered their time and efforts, and in many instances, their spouses' time and efforts too, in preparing the Shabbos Kedushim for the past 6 years. Howie Block, would you please come up here? Howie was the cake and salad specialist of the group. And I'm proud to present you with this plaque, which reads as follows. Presented to Howard Block in sincere appreciation, Kiddush Committee Co-Chairman, wow, it's a tough night, Congregation Israel of Springfield, January 4th, 1990, 7th of Tavis, 5750. Howie will also stand in except for Joe Weinberg. Joe's down in sunny Florida. Joe is the fish, liquor, and financial specialist of the crew. And Joe's plaque reads as follows. Presented to Joe Weinberg in sincere appreciation, Kiddush Committee Chairman, Congregation Israel of Springfield, January 4th, 1990, 7th of Tavis, 5750.
On behalf of Joe and myself, I want to thank the congregation for this particularly beautiful awards. I want to thank my wife for putting up with me for these last 10 years. I'm the only guy to go out on Thursday night and tell my wife I'm going out to make tuna fish and egg salad. Thank you very much.
For us, however, it is not so much a replacement as it is a continuation, a continuum of caring and of service, of a commitment to serve and care for our shul congregation. Our shul has chosen wisely and well in naming our incoming officers and trustees. And at this time, as I call your name, I'd like you to rise, stay in place. Avi Bornstein, President. Ernie Cutler, Ed Kurtzer, Dave Flower, Sue Shaw, Steve Schiffner. These are all our vice presidents. Dr. David Armstrong, Dr. Lenny Milroy, Sheldon Cohn, Walter Overlander, Bill Ostrow, Dr. Arya Direk, Henry Stein, on behalf of the congregation of Israel, I now declare you and each of you installed in your respective offices. To you all, Mazel Tov, and our pledge to work with you. Thank you.
Okay, this is the part you're going to see 69 times.
Put the lens cap over the camera. The lens cap.
They can hear you talking.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Really?
now for the highlight of this evening's festivities, the installation of our new president. We are truly fortunate in our choice for he has proven himself capable and caring, and we can be certain that his term of office will assure us of continued forward progress for our beloved Shul and its beloved Shul community, both in its physical embellishment and in its personal relationships. Avi, I've known you many years, and I could go on for some period of time here, but I don't think we want to go over what is history. You've earned the position. We know that you're going to do a good job and serve all of us to the best of your capabilities. And at this time, I declare you installed as President of Congregation Israel of Springfield for a term beginning January 1990 through December 1991. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me now in a mazel tov to Avi. Mazel tov.
Thank you, Zach. Let me begin by recognizing a few of the prominent people from the community who are here with us tonight. And I'd like the individuals who I named to please rise so that they can become familiar to everyone. The Executive Vice President and the professional in charge of the Jewish Federation of Central New Jersey, Bert Lazarow, please stand up. The Executive Director of Hawaii and Green Lane, Brian Fox, please rise. Thank you for coming. Now, why are these people here tonight?
We give you a donation.
Almost, but not quite. Why do we have more than 110 reservations tonight and the hall is full? Why is that the case?
You paid for half of them.
That's the financial guy talking. Well, it ain't so. It's not because of me, and it's not because of any one of the people who was installed tonight. It's not because of the wonderful evening that was planned and carried out by a dedicated group of people who I will not mention individually tonight, but I'll try to thank personally later on. No, it's not because of any single person, but it's because of this entire shul as a group. And the reason I think is because Congregation Israel is the single most vibrant, active, and alive Orthodox shul in all of Union County. And that's not a small statement. This year, 1990, this decade is the gateway to the 21st century. And it may sound a little bit like overstatement, but this shul is perfectly positioned to enter this decade and to enter the 21st century as the most dynamic force for Orthodox Judaism in this entire county. Let me start at the top and let me try to explain to you why I feel this way. And the top, of course, is our rabbi, Rabbi Yudah. Think of all the things that Rabbi Yudah can do. He's literate in Torah, and soon he'll be literate in computers. Thanks, Phil. His drive, his disposition, his zeal, and his dedication, balanced against the calming effect he has on some of our more vocal members, is perfect for this show. We are blessed with Rabbi Turner, who, curiously enough, almost gave birth to this shul by himself. We are blessed with youthful but experienced leadership, and we are blessed with trusted and active senior leadership. If you look at the roster of individuals that Zach installed tonight, of the 29 men and women he named, 18 of them are under the age of 45. That's very impressive. And that gives us a foundation of youth, experienced youth, to build on in the future. At the same time, we have 3 active and youthful past presidents who put their time and their enterprise and their energy into this shul. We have active past trustees, men such as Leib Anfang and Fred Bayrow, and our honoree tonight, Ralph Witzkin and Saul Einhorn. These men who day in, day out give to this shul of themselves and of their money and of their talent and of their leadership. We have all of these things. Let's look at some of the other blessings of this particular shul. We're 20 minutes away from 2 yeshivot and 1 day school. We have an error, supervised by a dedicated team of error checkers, headed by Shelley Cohn. Give him a hand. We have a kosher bakery and a kosher bagel store in Springfield, supervised by Rabbi Yudah, both of which are sources of great pride and help us with our kiddushes. Our nursery school, which is now being led by Dr. Len Bielarai, is bursting at the seams with over 30 children, and we expect to have over 40 children in the summer program. The youth programs in our shul are hopping with Chaim Gedgerman at the helm, and we expect new and great enthusiastic leadership from Mel Ostrow and our new members, David and Emmy Hopper. Adult education, which is spearheaded by Gailey Artman, is as strong and as diversified as any shul of any denomination in this county. And our recent dinner with Michael and Susan Roth as the guests of honor raised more money for this shul than any other dinner. We are serviced by 2 federations, and our roster of officers is a who's who in central New Jersey. The Sisterhood, headed by Perla Levy and my wife Sharon as the Presidium, is strong and active and representative of the young and the old alike. And its past presidents, Eunice Penn and Phyllis Steyer and Lee Horelick and Sandy Struwitz, remain active in the shul and in all of our programs. And the Purim Shalach Manas, just to name one particular program, which is headed by Fern Schulman-Demner. And a crew of members is one of the most beautiful programs and one of the best fundraisers we have in the shul. And look at the building. The building is 11 years old. It's beautifully maintained by Larry, and Sydney and Marilyn Schiffman make sure that everything works and works right. And my hat off to them too. In short, Alan Penn leaves behind a legacy in this shul of an institution, an Orthodox Jewish institution ready to burst into the 90s. But picking up all of those pieces and running with that mantle will not be easy, because every accomplishment that I mentioned is built on a very fragile reed. Every program survives because of the work and of the attention of a few good women and a few good men. We have serious financial problems. We have certain social problems, such as creating an equitable seating plan for the high holidays. We have a need to perpetuate the shul as a center for learning in Judaism right here in Springfield. Now I know it has come to my attention that sometimes people disagree on issues of substance or procedure or of personality. And I know that sometimes different geographic location of different people who reside in the town may affect their relationships with other people. And I know that on other occasions, age or job or religious background or observance or financial position may sometimes create tensions among our members. But I look at it a little bit differently. I think that those differences strengthen us rather than divide us, because the broad spectrum of people we have in this shul, the diverse skills and the diverse social backgrounds, are not a divisive factor, they are a unifying factor, and they make this shul a single place for all types of people to daven and to socialize. Whether you live on Gulf Edge or Gulf Oval or Twin Oaks Oval, this is one shul. My feeling is that if we are going to be the beacon of Orthodox Judaism for the 90s and beyond, we must and we will do it together. On a personal note, there are a few people who I would wish to thank publicly, and please indulge me just for a few moments. First, of course, my wife Sharon, the president of the Sisterhood, about whom one of you once told me she's the best thing about me.
True.
Well, I have to confess publicly it's true. And to my children, Alec and Amanda,
Guys, you want to turn around and put on the video still?
you'll probably see me less than before, but I promise to be at the bar mitzvah. To my mother who came in from Brooklyn, to my sister Hindi, my brother-in-law Aaron, my mother-in-law Dina who just flew in from Israel, my brother-in-law Abba, and to member of this congregation, Morty Cohen, thanks for all your support. I'm going to need it. But in particular, I dedicate this term, these 2 years, to my brother Dubby. He's not here tonight because, unfortunately, he's on a dialysis machine at home in Brooklyn. My father is home with him, and my mother, thank God, is here. To Dubby, hang in there. This one's for you. Thank you.
want to express our sincere thanks to those of our members who arranged, took care of, and so artfully produced this evening's dinner and program. First, to our chairperson, Bernice Edeltreat, thank you. For the invitations and the program, Dr. Alan Berghauser and his lovely wife, Rochelle. Whose sister did the invitations, and Cindy Barr. Thank you for the letters that were sent. We thank Marilyn and Sid, as always, the job they've done. They're accustomed to hearing our thanks from us, and again, we thank you sincerely. The rest of their committee, Howard and Charlotte Clark. Our publicity people, Candace and Richie Zerowitz. For the mailing from our office, Bernice Winarski. Larry, if you're around, thank you. Thank you. Thank him personally later. At this time, I want to introduce, I don't have to introduce, just call upon our Rabbi Yudah.
These weeks that we read from the Torah, we read about a gentleman called Yosef HaTzadik. Yosef HaTzadik had a dream. His dream was described by a Rabbi Eliyahu Dessler, Mashgiach, spiritual advisor in the Gateshead Yeshiva in England. This man had a dream that people would bow down to him. And he wasn't thinking of covet, of deference. He was thinking of his mission. The Zohar teaches us that Yosef's level of inspiration was such that there was no taint of falsehood. Nevertheless, in dealing with this world, in dealing with the things that he had to deal with, his brothers who were difficult, his boss in Egypt, Potiphar, whom he served very ably, the wife of his boss, who had very different intentions. In the dungeon in Egypt, and next to the throne of Pharaoh, he always had to worry. Who is watching? What is he doing? He had reason to despair. If I'm supposed to be so good, why is my faith so troubling? He had to exercise restraint, not only for the wife of Potiphar, but not to contact his father when he had the power to do so, because he was a pro, and the lives of everybody in the Middle East were depending upon him for sustenance. He had to do acts that were occasionally painful and hurtful. His was the hard decision to make. He had to be Moser Nefesh. It's lonely at the top. When one is at the top, one makes decisions that some will like and others won't. And everyone will abort you. And maybe say a little bit of Lashon Hara. When one wants to give reproof, our Torah teaches, "Hochiach tochiach et amitecha." Say what you have to say. V'lo tisa alav chet. But don't mix in sin. Make sure that it's honest and pure. When we make reproof, when we make suggestions, it must be in goodwill, not in bad will. So the Torah gives kavod to the leader, so the leader can lead. And what is our role vis-a-vis the leader? We are told, "Batzedek tishpot et amitecha." with righteousness, you are to judge your fellow. If we see someone's behavior and it's questionable, our Torah commands us that we must interpret the intentions of our fellow for good. For that's the way we wish to be viewed. And the responsibility that it made for Jewish leaders from the time of Yosef Atzadik, if they view us that way, if we do not merit, may we grow into the merit. When we appoint our leaders in Torah, we are required, as they are required, to give the benefit of the doubt. Because our leaders share our pain, our anger, our angst. Because if we are together, our future is ensured only if our mission is shared. Whatever Yosef did, it was with discipline and care. A thankless job on many occasions, considering what had happened to him during his years. But he never complained, and he saved so many. From Yosef Atzadik to our time, Vayamim Hahem Ubizman Hazeh, the Kadosh Baruch Hu has blessed us with leaders with time, and talent, and treasure. And we treasure them. For they take us from Ma'amad Har Sinai, the time we received our Torah, to the time of Mashiach, when that Torah in our time will be fulfilled. Each of us has our place on the stage of history. Ours is a congregation on the cutting edge. May we merit to go from strength to strength, keeping the values of Yosef Atzadik, of faith, of good faith, piety, and prudence, as we enter the next decade, the next century, moving one step closer to the Geulah. Thank you all for coming this evening. The next Jewish holiday is the holiday of Purim, in which we cast lots, celebrating the faith. Some of us have good faith. Some of us never have to be careful. One person tonight will have a very good faith. We ask Dr. Zarowitz to come forward for our own Mif'al HaPayis, our own synagogue lottery. And on behalf of the congregation, let me wish you God bless, good evening, and thank you.
Here we go. Could the two Bornstein children, those good-looking kids, come up here? Are they here? Do I have one? You lost one? If you can't keep your children, how are you going to help us?
And the winner is, the first winner is, the second place winner, which we drew first.
We didn't practice.
That is true. The second place winner is 085008. Hey, we just called them.
Yes. Chicks.
She didn't win this because because she's a member of the Board of Trustees and active in the sisterhood. Don't believe that. $36.
And the first place, the grand prize winner, the winner of 53 glorious dollars. 53. Not quite.
Want to buy some tickets? Anyone want to buy some tickets? Go ahead.
Rabbi Turner will throw in another dollar to make it 3 times.
Mixed up my record.
Rabbi Turner won't do anything. The winner is 84999.
I suggest you count the money because we really don't like to give money away. This is also not set up, even though she's the daughter-in-law of someone who received a plaque. This is all really honest. Daughter of the dancer, I'm sorry.